on TikTok. Let's bring in now tech analyst and the Media Copilot founder, Pete Paschal. Pete, thank you for joining us. There is clearly a lot of angst, particularly among younger users, as Lucas was pointing out. Is it time for those young users who are, for lack of a better word, addicted to this app, spend a lot of time on it? Is it time for them to start freaking out?
Probably. It does seem that TikTok is about to go dark, regardless of whether it's enforced or not. It seems that TikTok has a plan that when it goes dark, it's going to have a screen for anyone who fires up the app that will encourage them to put pressure on lawmakers to essentially reverse the ban or do something about it. And I think TikTok really wants the U.S. to sort of feel what the effect of that would be. TikTok is not just home to 170 million users in the US. There's a vibrant creator economy going on there. There's estimates that it adds something like 25 billion with a B, to the US economy every year. There's a lot of commerce. There's a lot of folks that have created their careers on TikTok. So if it goes dark entirely, that in some ways helps TikTok, because then people can feel what it's like without its presence in their lives to either, express themselves, see the content that they're used to seeing, and also have all that economy just suddenly disappear.
We should mention, too, though, that if it goes dark, I mean, it won't be by the actions of the U.S. government. I mean, this was a forced divestiture. The Chinese owner is refusing to sell it, and then also saying they're going to take down the app on Sunday if the U.S. government doesn't, loosen its stance on the requirement to sell. But it is, in effect, because of the national security threat, something that teens don't seem to be buying. Take a listen to this.
If the government cared about our privacy and our security, the government would put restrictions on selling American user data. They would do something about the military-aged Chinese males who are allegedly coming over our open border. Instead, they're banning an app for social control. Gen Z knows it. And like you said, they're giving the middle finger to a government.
That was Rachel Campos Duffy's daughter. Why is it that you think that kids don't believe that there's a national security threat?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, one is that they, obviously have a bias if they are on the app and they are, either spending time there or making their living there. You obviously don't want to see it go. But there is sort of an uncomfortable part of all of this, this ban. And even though it's academic now, and the Supreme Court has been unanimous in its decision that the U.S. can enforce this, the fact is there isn't really a ton of credible evidence around the fact that TikTok is actually doing this. It's all about the potential that it could be doing this. It's really, the fear is one of scale, because as we said, it's 170 million users. It's got tons of data on its users, and it is obligated, if the Chinese government wants it, they have to share that data with them. So the risk is absolutely real. Is it actually doing that? Well, TikTok has actually taken steps to try to show that it's not. It has its servers in the U.S., at least the ones that store the data on U.S. users, and Oracle audits that data. So far, there isn't a credible report that this is actually happening. It's all about sort of the potential. And again, China is a geopolitical adversary of the United States. That is a real concern. And it's a bipartisan one. Both, right. It seems the country can't agree on a lot of things, but the threat posed by TikTok is one of the things there is bipartisan support around.
Well, and Pete, that's why before we let you go, I wanted to ask you about the alternatives. There seem to be two refugee apps, if you will, that users are going to, one of which is owned by ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent company. So you're presumably back in the same problem. The other is Chinese run, that its name translates essentially to the Little Red Book, a reference to the days of Mao Zedong. So are these alternatives just as bad?
I mean, from a security standpoint, absolutely. So RedNote, as you noted, is probably the winner so far in terms of where people are migrating to. It's grown from something like 300,000 users to close to 3 million or even more now. But again, it's a Chinese company. It has the same obligations that ByteDance has. And, same algorithmic problems that will essentially lead to more addiction and kids spending time on. There's a lot of, criticism of TikTok that it's just brain rot, and it's somehow this sort of psyop to sort of get all our kids sort of addicted. Again, all these apps represent that same problem. So with Red Note, I also think there's a bit of spite on the part of TikTok users that who go to this app and then make these videos that, hey, I'm speaking Mandarin. Hey, look, U.S. government banned me too. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. So, certainly Lemon8, it's pretty much the exact same thing, just in a different package. I think it would be pretty easily from a legal standpoint to extend the ban to that one as well. But Red Note, if that ends up growing large and this has the scale of a TikTok, all the same arguments apply.
All right, Pete Peschel, thank you for your insight. We'll continue to follow it. It's going to be 24 hours here, and we'll find out what happens. Pete, thank you.